This is the tone. Let me tell you, I have so many hot takes today. I don't even know where to start, but it starts with this. This is the most important game of the year for the Panthers. You know that. You know it. They're 0-2. They got to get a win. You got to take down these dang birds. We get it. You get it. I'm not going to bore you with that, but what I will tell you is this is the most important game for Dan Morgan. Because if you look at these numbers, it will blow your mind. 3.5 sacks and 2 interceptions. That is what Falcons defenders taken in the 2024 and 2025 draft classes put up last week. That alone won them the game, kept them in the game. Michael Penix Jr. has done so little, he's pretty much begging to throw the ball down the field. He looks demoralized. For different reasons than the Panthers quarterback, he's sitting there going, let me, take the top off the defense. And Raheem Morris is sitting there like, no, we're going to win on defense. We're going to invest in the defense. This is defense first. You're not throwing the ball down the field. You're not ruining this for us. You're not going to get a turnover because you're throwing the ball 50 yards down the field to Drake London. We're winning this on defense, and that's how we're doing it. So a complete juxtaposition compared to what we're used to, which is it's quarterback-centric. At least that's what you want it to be. Bryce Young has to take the reins. Bryce Young has the 8th overall pick wide receiver. You've invested extensively in the offense this year and last year. And it needs to be offense first. For the Falcons, they've done everything in their power to win on defense. Jalen Walker at 15. Trade back into the first round for James Pierce Jr. at 26. Last year, Rook Aroraro at 35, right around where you got Leggett. He had half a sack last week. Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, you doubled down at safety. 2 picks last week. Those guys went, I believe Watts was a 3rd rounder and Bowman was at 118. That's the 4th round. I believe. Maybe late 3rd. They have hit on defense. They won last week's game against the Vikings. They neutralized J.J. McCarthy, who had some edge. He had a little bit of a swagger. National pundits talking highly of him. He's a winner, they would say. I listen to Boston Sports Radio. They're talking about how he's like Tom Brady. He has the intangible factors. Well, they went out and made him look like a kid, this Falcons defense. And I still think the Panthers have a lot better top-end talent than the Falcons. I think J.C. Horn and Derek Brown alone, it's better than what the Falcons have. Maybe Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. becomes a really, really great player. But I think if you're talking about Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell, I like Brown and Horn. As 2 of the top guys the Panthers have, I think they have more star power than the Falcons on defense. It's the other guys. It's the depth pieces. And that's where I think Dan Morgan gets the finger pointed at him. Because Trevin Wallace, Chaw Smith-Wade, Damani Richardson, if you lump them into this. Some of these guys you've drafted. And then the rookies from 2025, Lathan Ransom, Princely Umanmielen. We're going to talk about him a little later. Nic Scourton. These guys aren't even playing. They're getting 15% of snaps or so. Situational players. The Falcons are getting immediate production from these guys, and I think Sunday is about just that. It's how do your young guys play? If Rook Aroraro, who the Falcons took at 35 last year, is sacking Bryce Young, well, Leggett is struggling, well, then I think you kind of see history writing itself. And this is a team that you're supposed to be at least on par with. I said the Panthers should be competing with the Bucs for the division. Maybe I was wrong about that. It remains to be seen. But what I will say is the Falcons is a team that you should have been better than. And if the Falcons are better than the Panthers, it comes down to one thing, and that is drafting and the ability to have a pipeline of talent, particularly on the defense. And they wanted it. They gave 1 year, $10 million fully guaranteed to Leonard Floyd. He had a sack on Sunday too. They wanted it. They wanted to do everything they could to win. They said, we're done being this makeshift bad defense. We're throwing all our eggs in this basket. We're given a first round pick. to double down on edge rusher. We're paying Leonard Floyd, who really probably just wants to come closer to home and retire. We're giving him $10 million guaranteed. Well, here's a clip. Ejiro Evero talking about some of the growing pains young guys might have in the scheme. He quickly said the scheme is not complex. Here is Ejiro Evero talking about the young guys and their role.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that our scheme is that there's a lot of moving parts. I think there's always a perspective of what can your players handle and not trying to overload them. And that's always where I try to build things off of.
I do find this answer pretty interesting because he uses the word overloading the players. And I wanted to talk about this with you a very long time ago this week. On Monday is when I wanted to talk about it. And then I was like, it's a Tuesday problem. And Tuesday's problem is a Wednesday's problem. And Wednesday's problem is a Thursday's problem. And now we're here on Friday. And I'm like, dang it, I need to talk about this still. I went back and I thought of Christian McCaffrey when I think of Trevon Moehrigg's role on this defense. I watched Trevon Moehrig on Sunday. He's in the slot. The next play, he's inside the box. One play, he's covering Marvin Harrison Jr. inside. The next play, he's lined up against Elijah Higgins or Trey McBride, one of the tight ends. Then he's in the box, shooting between the gaps and freaking tackling James Conner point blank, 6'2", 230-pound running back. Then he's playing over the top. He's playing deep. And it was an objectively bad game for Trevon Moehrig. He played pretty poorly. He gave up a lot of yards. He was at least part of the crew that gave up a lot of yards to some of those tight ends. The tight ends, McBride and Higgins, combined for 8 catches and 123 yards. Yes, some of that was the scheme, but a lot of it was shortcomings in coverage. This is Alex Zetlow in The Observer. Trevon Moehrig lost a one-on-one rep third down against McBride. That would have yielded a punt in the first half. And I noticed it more. I even noticed Marvin Harrison Jr. was going against Moehrig in the slot too. And I know he is a safety. I know they're utility players. They do it all. And in today's NFL, they're hybrids. That's why safeties are going in the high picks in the first round. Kyle Hamilton's the perfect example. Caleb Downs, he's going to be another guy out of Ohio State that goes probably in the top 10 this year. But at a certain point, what it comes down to is they don't have other guys who can play prominent roles in this defense. And Princely Umanmielen, he's a situational pass rusher. They're scared to put Lathan Ransom on the field. They're not playing Nic Scourton a ton. Shaw Smith-Wade, what the heck happened to him on Sunday? He was on the field a little bit, much less than he was in the game at Jacksonville, but still I didn't really notice him. And what it comes down to in the microcosm of all this is that play against the Jags where ETN had the 71-yard run. And they did really good preventing that from happening again. They only gave up a 31-yard run on, third down, a scramble where Christian Roseboom missed the tackle on Kyler Murray. But that 71-yard run by ETN in the Jacksonville games, a microcosm of the defense. Trevon Moehrig misses a tackle on that play. If he makes the tackle, it's a gain of 6 yards. He misses the tackle, so then the only guy there is Nick Scott. Trevin Wallace and Christian Roseboom are running in the wrong direction. Trevon Moehrig is making up for so much of the Panthers' problems. And J.C. Horn's another guy. He is allowing a near zero passer rating when quarterbacks throw against J.C. Horn. How much of this is sustainable? How much of it is sustainable to put Moehrig in these positions? To constantly be relying on Derek Brown and J.C. Horn week in and week out. And I think playing the young players at this point, what it comes down to is get some guys with a little more of a ceiling out there. Even Corey Thornton, another guy who flashed. If you don't have faith in Shaw Smith-Wade, put Corey Thornton on the field. If you don't think Pat Jones and DJ Wanham give you enough, I think they were somewhat disruptive in that game against Arizona. But if you don't trust them to be consistent, put Scourton and Umanmielen on the field. If Nick Scott is missing plays every single week, I don't even want to talk about this. It's a dead horse. I just keep beating it. put Lathan Ransom on the field. And I think a lot of it comes down to that. But Evero is scared to overload players. Well, at the same time, you're overloading your safety, you're overloading your defensive end and your corner who you're over-reliant on, and that's not going to sustain itself. Here is Evero talking about the development of Princely Umanmielen. So where will Princely fit in with this defense and the scheme in the game against Atlanta?
Very, very good pass rusher. He had a lot of pass rush production in college. And so that's what we were hoping to get. And he's been working tirelessly at it. And Coach Andrew Carter and the whole staff have just done a heck of a job with him.
I think this is how Evero views Princely Umanmielen and how the larger organization views him. Evero, the head coach of the defense, is what they call him. He's a pass rusher. On 3rd and 6, you put him in. He's fast. He beats Jonah Williams. He sacks Kyler Murray. Game-changing play. And I'm going to end on a high note because I think this is someone you've longed for. I really don't think you've had that fast speed rusher. Maybe a little bit with Hassan Reddick. I don't know. I don't think someone has possessed Princely Umanmielen's skill set on this defense in a very long time. Where it's finesse, it's quick, you blink your eye and the quarterback's sacked. I think they've had their share of bull rushers and guys with nice moves, and they can sack the quarterback, get after the passer. But that flash, where it's 3rd and 6, Murray drops back before he can even make a read, he's getting sacked. And it's mano-a-mano, it's Princely Umanmielen versus Jonah Williams, who I think at this point in his career is still a pretty good tackle. At least he's paid like it. Umanmielen wins the rep. He wins the rep. And I don't know if he's ever going to be setting the edge and doing it all, a 4-down player. But off the bench, you put him in 3rd and short, 3rd and 5, 3rd and long, and he gets you a sack. He gives you a little bit of a spark. I think that role's perfect for him, and I hope he continues to do that. Because that is the key. That is the key for Dan Morgan. You're going to need to be able to hit on some of these guys. Princely Umanmielen, Nic Scourton, Lathan Ransom. Because the Falcons sure as heck are. And if you want to beat those birds, you're going to need to be hitting on those draft picks too. This is The Tone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll continue to be giving you amazing content here on this channel. Stay tuned for more.